right,
Cool.
cool. All right. Good morning, everybody. This is Michael. Welcome back to Shots of Info. This is our 35th episode. Yesterday was our 34th. My bad.
That's what I
But,
said. Uh,
but yeah. All right. So just a quick disclaimer. This is just for fun. It's a conversation between me and Randy only. Two friends just talking. So don't take anything said on this seriously. Don't take it at heart. But yeah, without getting that out of the way, let's get it started.
all right, sweet. So let's jump into the topics that we have here. So on the
Mhm.
personal development, we are looking at, does creativity die as you grow or as you get older? On the fitness, we have tips to control hunger. And on the finance, we have, is there a time you would consider quitting investing / trading? And then news updates at the end. That's it.
Awesome. All right, so we can get started with the first topic. So the question is, do you think creativity dies as you grow old?
Man, I don't think it dies. It just, depending on the person, it gets stifled. So,
Mhm.
like, whatever your circumstances end up becoming, you stop being so creative and you start becoming more critical and analytical about things. And you
Mhm.
kind of just don't let the mind do what it, like, just wander rather. Because I feel like oftentimes when we're young, right? Like, we're very expressive, we're very creative, we do a lot of things. Um, but as we get older, we stop doing these things due to whatever constraints we have. So yeah, I would say like it does start dying out as you get older, and mostly just due to the fact that we don't put an emphasis on continuing to be creative as you get older. It just becomes more about being more professional and more analytical and critical thinking, and
Mhm.
less so about expression. What
Right.
about you?
Yeah. I think as we grow, like there is less time that we have to start wondering and start thinking, as comparing to a kid who all they do is, they probably go to school by some like young age, but they have like free time, like their learning process is a little bit more it's not as complicated as how it and complex and time consuming as it is with higher education like college or even high school. So they have a little bit more time to start thinking and start wondering, start looking for alternatives to something, maybe like video games or stuff like that. Like they dive into that sort of reality, like different realities, and they can start thinking and kind of coming up with like creative solutions that sometimes as an adult we don't really get to do. And it's, I feel like at some like in some way it does die out, but that's because we let it die out because we
Or
get so distracted with like other things.
how about this? How about it doesn't die or die out, but it changes. So, like right now, you're a computer engine or rather computer scientist, right? So you program
Mhm.
and you code. In a way, you still are facilitating that creative like expression, right? Like you're still
Right.
being creative, but it's not necessarily in a abstract way. It's not like with painting or with drawing or things like that,
Mhm.
but it's more with like websites and figuring out problems with your coding solutions and things like that. So I think it really just depends. Again, it's all subjective. It really just depends on the individual. Um, so I think sometimes creativity can just change as you get older, as opposed to just like dying out.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So you think creativity is more like evolves with time rather
yeah.
than.
It just like with everything, it evolves with whatever you need it to become, right?
Mhm.
So if your creativity is it's no longer as useful for you to just kind of be drawing and expressing and or writing poetry or writing whatever you like or used to like, and now it's more based out of you needing to solve problems for some type of work that you're doing. Um, then I feel like that's where the creativity goes.
Okay, yeah, I think, well, in some way, I think yes and no. All right, so I agree with you. Like now, like in each of our professions, we try to find creative ways to kind of innovate or kind of like um, see differently, right? For example, like you
Mhm.
mentioned, like in programming, there's some people that consider coding and programming as an art. Actually, I remember when I was just investigating about like my major, like they weren't sure because it was a new field. It's still a very very young field comparing to medicine or economics. Comparing to those fields, computer science is a very young field, and they didn't know how to categorize it, like whether it's whether it's engineering, whether it's science, or whether it's art, because involves kind of is a combination of all of them, because you need to be creative, you need to be kind of like have the creative mindset of an artist to kind of create some code, like beautiful code, and but also you need the engineering aspect and the logical thinking and like the realistic thinking as well in order to write effective code. So in that aspect, where I'm going is that creativity, it kind of like transforms into like something different. Like we become more logical and realistic characters that we don't have we don't have that imagination that a kid has. But a kid also doesn't have that imagination that we have, like the problem solving skills that we have. So like for example, let's say we're trying to solve a problem, like me and and a little kid, and let's say my little cousin or my niece. So when you were to ask the same question, like how you can solve a difficult problem, they're gonna come with unrealistic solutions, like something that maybe they watch in the movies, maybe they saw something, stuff like that, right? Maybe they heard somewhere. But me, like as an adult, I'm gonna come with a more realistic solution, such as we have to do A and B to get to D. I
Right.
mean, to get to C. But
No, it
you
works
get the
too.
point. So it's like it's a different sort of creativity, but we put more like a realistic thought on it rather than have an imaginary illusion of how it can be. At the same time, you can argue that we kind of lost that sort of creativity, and that's the reason we, as a society, we cannot evolve and think outside the box as a collective society.
For sure. And like, well, actually, no, let's not get too much into like drugs, but there is something to be said about people that do like psychedelics and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of reopens that creativity and that imaginativity in such a way where like it's almost similar as to being a child again.
Right.
But again, I wouldn't have enough information to like really talk about it in depth. But yeah, there's something to be said about that as well. So
Correct.
they could always come back in some form or fashion, just because the way we live kind of facilitates us doing more. It's a good way to put it. Being more analytical and being more straightforward and realistic with our solutions and the way we
Mhm.
approach problems, as opposed to thinking outside the box and really just bringing back that childhood creativity that we used to have when we didn't have so many responsibilities or things that we had to do. Yeah.
Correct. Now, there's something that we can say also about education and the system that we were raised and grow, because think about it. Education was built upon one thing. Like here in the United States, it was just to create workers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the curriculum that they use, and the curriculum hasn't changed or hasn't seen complete, innovation on it since it was created, which was like
Yep.
in like the 20s and so.
20th
Now,
century.
yeah, the 20th century. So we can argue that the system itself, like the education that we had to go through, had the effect on us, had the kind of like kill creativity in some
For sure.
aspect, to not think outside the box, not pursue something different or be innovating in something else. And that's why like now, because we are living on an age of information where you can share your ideas and you can see what other person is capable of reaching or doing, more and more people, they're leaning towards like entrepreneurships or taking the risk, traveling and sharing different ideas, different perspectives. But that was not available back in the days, and literally what you learn on school, that's what become your reality. Now, this was actually a huge topic, like a controversial topic, when in other states, like the books they make seeing like the other side of the story. So depending on the, actually not just here in the United States, depending on the country that you live, that story is built, or it's like history books are written by them, by the country. Like me, I remember my education in Ecuador, learning history. It was all about Ecuador. It was how Ecuador was great, what challenges we faced. In one of the biggest war we had back in the days, it was with Peru. So unconsciously, as kids, we start building this little hatred towards that.
Bias. We start building this bias.
Exactly, yes. And same thing happened here in the United States, or you go to China. They make it seem the center of the world, and we kind of absorb as kids all the information, and we, at some point, we're not open-minded. But now, with information available at the palm of our hands, we're able to research in our own and, go out of the way to see what is true and what is not.
Right, right. Yeah, I said, like, again, with the technology that we have today, there's no longer that ability to like censor or promote a very specific ideology in terms of like, nationalism for your country.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as you can see with China, they do try to censor.
Right.
The government does try to censor people, but at the end of the day, that information still gets out there, and you can see other outside information and make your own perspectives or create your own solutions or ideas from those perspectives, right? So the education system hasn't caught up to that fact yet.
Right.
And that's a big problem, simply because there's so much more out there than what is just stated in the textbook, right? And like you were saying, that education system has not been updated in any way since its inception, which was back in like the 1800s. And that was more to just push factory workers or just people not to be less creative and more just like a machine. But
right.
The problem is our machines are so good now that we don't need to be like that. And now we need to go back to thinking outside the box, be more creative. That way we can solve bigger problems or just generally have a more fulfilling life as opposed to just being more robotic and less human.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that about covers it.
Yeah. So in conclusion, it does die out, yes or no?
I would say it changes, it evolves, and depending on your situation, it definitely can die out. So you definitely want to be attentive to that fact and stay doing things that keep you creative. So again, like as a programmer, you're still somewhat creative, maybe a little bit more analytical, but I say you're still creative. As a personal trainer, I have to be creative with my clients because not everybody's the same.
Right.
Can't have them do the same programs and follow a similar protocol when it comes to their nutrition. So that's why I have to think outside the box most of the time when it comes to these things. So put yourself in situations where you're forced to be creative and think outside the box. That way that creativity doesn't just get stifled and dies out.
I completely agree with you on that. So it definitely doesn't completely die out unless you let it die out, unless you let your life not be creative at all. But you definitely have that inner creativity, like the childhood creativity inside of you, and it's up to you just to how to use it and how you can bring it outside.
And it's fun, right? Like that's where we had the most amount of fun, with our imagination, just doing whatever we used to do when we were kids. And then as we get older, we just stop having fun. So make sure that you keep that alive.
Absolutely. Cool. So let's jump right into the next topic, which is
sorry. So the next topic is tips to control hunger. So it's pretty simple. I don't really have too many like crazy tips. It's just like some basic ones that really work or that I've used and that really work for me. So the first one that I got for you is portions, the portions of food that you eat. So the way I lost weight when I was younger was by having small plates and just eating with more frequency. So usually I would eat about 4 to 6 times a day. And obviously I would split those meals within 2 to 3 hours. So I was constantly eating food and keeping myself satiated, but obviously balancing out the fact that I was trying to lose weight. So I wasn't overeating food. So you can definitely use that as a metric to control hunger. One of the other things you could do is consuming water pre and post meals. So before you eat anything, you drink a glass of water. That kind of gives you a little bit of, fullness. And then you eat the food, and then maybe you can take a little bit of time and drink another glass of water. That way, it kind of layers it on top with another sense of fullness. And with that, especially if you're having small portions, really kicks in terms of the satisfaction of the food that you've eaten. That way, you're not just like constantly eating just to feel satisfied with the amount of food that you're eating, but never do. So that's definitely another one. And then the last one that I have for you is gum. But this one you have to be careful with because very easily you can start becoming bloated or start having your jaw cramp up on you, which I've had happen to me actually. It's kind of
Mhm.
funny. But yeah, this one can get you bloated. So if you start feeling bloated, I would say drink some seltzer water, or some seltzer water. That usually helps bring out whatever gas or bloatingness that you have. Yeah, that's it.
All right, on my end, one trick that I use frequently is the a small dish, like the plate itself, to be small, because that kind of tricks your mind that you're eating a lot, whereas you're not. Like the reality, it's not. So let's say instead of eating or eating on those huge plates that make it seem that you're eating very small portions, just choose a small plate and fill it up. And trust me, it's gonna trick your mind that you're eating more than you are actually are. Now, another also good trick is that God damn, I forgot this. Okay, so the water that you mentioned, that's definitely a good one. I do that actually myself. You probably see me on my podcast. I mean, during the podcast, I drink one of these, and we talked about water yesterday as well, being very, very useful, not just to control your hunger, but also to keep your metabolism running and work and running. Cool. But yeah, other than that, I think oh, actually, I have a good one too. Now, I read this or I watched a video about this somewhere that you wanna eat slow. Why?
Yes, that's
It's
another one.
because yeah, so you wanna make sure that you're chewing it correctly, like you're helping your metabolism digest the food fast, but your stomach doesn't send that little signal that you're already full after 20 minutes that you're actually full. I don't know if that's true. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I clearly remember this that it takes about like 20 minutes or so for your stomach to let you head that you're full, so you kind of like feel satisfied. But so if
Yeah.
you eat it slow, you're taking your time, and maybe you're already full, but you don't know it yet. What do you
Yeah.
think?
So there's definitely something to that. I'm not really too specific on the time, but
Mm-hmm.
the slower that you eat, the more that you chew your food, uh, there is that signal that your stomach sends to your brain in order to help you feel satisfied or tell you that you're satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
So the slower that you eat, the faster that signal gets to your stomach. So I would definitely suggest doing that as well. Um, Again, that's going to come down to the amount of chewing that you're doing. So be really meticulous on like chewing a lot because it's
Yeah,
really like I'm one of those people that can just chew super fast and just swallow the food, right? Do like
yeah,
two or
yeah,
three
yeah.
chews and then boom, I just swallow it.
Yeah, I'm definitely
So
one of
be
them as well.
be very like literally if you need to until you can get accustomed to it, like chew your food, like actually count it, chew it like 20 or 30 times, like
That's a
until
lot.
it's grounded down to a point where like you can feed it to a baby.
Water. Yeah.
Yeah,
Another good benefit about chewing it a lot is that you can get a really good jawline.
chisel your jaw.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
remember this is a muscle, so if you're chewing a lot, you're forcing those to work. It's kind of like a small workout for your face. So it definitely has
Not
it
a bad idea. It
advantages
also happens with the gum as well. So
with the gum as well. Yeah, I actually need to do that. I'll be getting my fluffy cheeks back. But yeah, other than that, let's jump into the last topic of the day so it doesn't get
all
too
right.
long.
So
Is there? Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So is there a time you would consider quitting investing slash trading?
Okay, so this is actually interesting question. When it comes to trading, I'll actually yes, I will consider it if my time is more valuable when I'm not trading. For example, if I get to the point about building a career or building a business that my time putting my time into this, into my project, is more valuable and it gets me more return than spending time trading and doing the research and just trading itself, then I would definitely leave it or just cut the time off. But when it comes to investing, that's definitely for the long term, because like I mentioned, investment not only on the stock market, but also like myself in outside sources such as real estate and other businesses as well. I think it's something that can transition into your life. It's going to benefit you as a person, benefit you as a man. So investing
Mhm.
definitely is for the long run. That I would never quit until I die. Even if I lost all my money, I would keep investing in something else. If not, with $0, I would keep investing on myself to be a better person. But trading, that's a possibility that someday it might happen eventually.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, for me, I would say it's something similar. Either I lose like all my capital and just like, all right, well, clearly that didn't go well, so might as well change the plan.
Hmm.
Or because you are limited, right? You are trading time for money when you're trading.
Hmm.
And if there's a better way to do that to facilitate that, then obviously you want to go with that method. But again, for me, trading is, again, it's a game. I don't play it as if like I'm trying to earn a living or make money from it. At some point, I would like to, but at the end of the day, my plan is just to become so good at it that I can be a professional trader because I'm just that good at playing this game. In the same way that you are really good at playing chess, or you're really good at playing poker, or you're really good at playing pool. It's a
Right.
skill, right? And I just feel like it's a good way to spend my time. That way, like if at any point I ever get to a position or am in a situation where I can't find any work, I have the skill. And so
Mhm.
long as I have the capital, I can make that money and make me money, as opposed to just like needing to work hours for somebody else in order to make that money. So
Oh,
that's one thing.
now
Uh,
that you brought video games, sorry to cut you off. Now that you brought video games, that's actually definitely a good topic that we should dive into
yeah,
about
I
what
put
sort of
it there.
games you should be playing, or if you should be playing games.
Yeah, it's already there for the next time.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Um, so yeah, with investing, that's like if you're a good investor, you don't
Mhm.
even have to be a good investor. But if you're a passive investor, your money will always be accruing more. The only way you lose money with investing is like you're making speculative plays, like
Mhm.
Nikola, right?
Right.
They didn't come out with anything, and then the value is just gone. The company just started dying little by little. So
Yeah.
unless you're doing that kind of investing, you can literally just invest in an index ETF on the S&P 500, and then that'll make you money. That'll make you more money than putting your money in a savings account at a bank.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, there's no reason why you should not invest, and there's no reason why you should ever quit investing. If you can't do the research and find good companies to invest in, then just literally invest in one of those index ETFs, and that's it. That money will just be making money over time.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, like I said, investment is definitely for the long term.
Mhm.
Investment is definitely here to stay. But I think that covers it. Now let's jump into updates. Do you have any news updates for today? Today's Friday.
Um, Today's Friday, so usually Friday involves a lot of market volatility. It can either
Right.
go really high or it can drop off a cliff. Same thing
Right.
with Mondays, but Mondays usually more buying than selling. Um,
Hmm.
no, my EVs aren't doing too hot today, unfortunately, but that's par for the course. You can't have something run. I think Neo ran a right now they're up 1,600% on the year, so you
Hmm.
can't really expect that to continue forever. I mean, I'm pretty sure it will, but not right now. Um, Besides that, we have the travel industry really picking up again, so that's really good to see. We got Boeing up to they were highs of 240 yesterday, or on the pre-market today, so that was pretty cool to see. So yeah, with the news of the vaccine rolling out, everything is starting to come back alive, which is definitely we've been waiting for this, right? We've
Right.
been stuck at
Absolutely.
home. We've been limited with everything that we can do. We want to try to at least get back to some normal or some realm of normalcy. So it's a good thing that all these things are happening now, and let's keep it rolling, man.
Absolutely. Well, so far right now it's midday. It's noon. When we're recording this video, but um, yeah, so far the markets are looking on red, that they're going to end up a little bit down today. Now, on some news, we have Warner Brothers announcing that they're going to be premiering some of their movies next year, starting next year on
No, it's
theaters.
all of them.
Oh, it's all of them. Yeah, yeah. And also, they're gonna be on HBO Max. So if you don't want to go to the movie, you don't want to risk it going to the theaters, you can get a subscription for HBO Max. They're gonna be there as well. Um, okay, some of these films include Dune, The Matrix 4, which I actually looking forward to see, In the Heights, and yeah. So for the HBO Max subscribers, it won't cost you anything extra. So
That's cool.
yeah, I don't have HBO. That's one of the
Now
things I
we're
don't
gonna have to get it now.
I always see, I always see. But
That's
anyway,
actually, you know what? That's pretty cool because now moving forward, that's gonna be a thing with all these like subscription shows or
mhm,
platforms, right? Like Hulu, Netflix, Amazon also, like they can start making contracts with these movie films industries and just premiering that there, and you can just watch these movies from your house. Makes it so much more convenient.
mhm.
Um, yeah, you don't
No,
have to
it's
spend as much
definitely
money with the snacks and stuff.
yeah, it's definitely a good strategy in that end that these streaming services are diving into, because like getting contract with these producers can help them build a subscription, um, subscriptions, as well as increase the volatility of people who uses it. Because HBO Max, to be honest, from my circle, my group of friends, I haven't heard anybody who uses HBO Max. It's usually Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus. So having these contracts maybe can drive some of this audience to be a little bit more competitive as well. But at the same time, if you're trying to save money, try not to subscribe to everything at once.
Yeah,
'Cause
no, for sure. That's definitely one of the big things now, right? So like
Mhm,
you forego cable and now you have all these subscriptions, which literally amounts to the same amount, if not more.
exactly. Yeah. And now another thing too, oil companies, they are striking, OPEC strikes oil. So we talked about this in the previous podcast a little bit, that, during this pandemic crisis, because oil is not being consumed by many people, there's tons of supply. And that causes, it's just basic economics, supply and demand.
Hmm.
Supply is low. That means that, wait, no, supply is
Price is
up.
high.
Yeah, that means demand is low. So the prices are going to be very, very cheap. So what OPEC is trying to do is that negotiations broke down earlier this week. Some OPEC nations, including Saudi Arabia, tried extending cuts through Q1, which is quarter one towards next year, and other pushes for greater compliance for members. So they want to cut it down. But yeah, but this have been happening ever since early March, so during the pandemic. Uh, on the other news, mm, oh, the stimulus. We mentioned that this past 2 days, the Senate has been back and forth, Democrats versus Republicans, regarding whether we should pass a new stimulus package. Now, the stimulus package do not include a stimulus check, unfortunately, but there is going to be a $300 on unemployment. I think it was like 1.2 billion for state government, and the rest is going to be mainly for small businesses and stuff like that. So there's still back and forth. There's nothing clear, but we will see what happens. But yeah,
Hmm.
2020 is almost over, guys, which is crazy.
2021, here we come. Aliens are coming, baby.
New chapter. But yeah, so other than that, that's pretty much it for today. It's been a great week. What do you think?
It's been pretty good. I can't complain. It got a little chilly there in the beginning of the week, but it's starting to feel a little bit better now, so that's cool.
Yeah, no, it's definitely getting cold out there. Even though by this time there used to be snow, when I remember.
Not so much.
Yeah, but we'll see what happens. Anyways, guys, enjoy the weekend. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace out.